Hello everyone, so I'm Bart here. Welcome to another movie review. Roll it. Well gee, you saw the title card, you know what I'll be thinking of this film. So, let's just get this over with. The film I'm going to be reviewing is Ratatouille. A rat named Remy becomes separated from his colony and rounds up at a Paris restaurant called Gusteau's. There, he mixes up spices into a ruined soup until he comes across a janitor named Linguini, who tries to get rid of him but couldn't due to Remy making the soup. So Linguini and Remy begin working together as one chef, all while Remy steals food for his found colony and while a food critic named Anton Ego wants to destroy the restaurant with a bad review. Now, with what I said about the other Pixar films I have reviewed, Cars 2 is enjoyable, Up is okay, Cars is dull, but this one, and I'm sorry to say, is worse than Cars. That's right, this is my least favorite Pixar film. Now hear me out, for there are a couple of reasons why I do not like this film. First of all, the characters aren't that interesting to begin with. Nothing about them made me care for them. They seem to have distinct personalities, but there's not a lot of chemistry between any of them. The romantic connection of Colette and Linguini, the many chefs that aren't developed well enough, the connections of Linguini with Chef Skinner and Remy, etc. But surprisingly, the only character I kind of enjoyed is Anton, mostly because of his towering stature and design and voice. He even gets a few good quotes once in a while. But that's only for him alone, and there's not much to him when confronting the other characters, because they all aren't well developed enough for me to get behind. Another reason, and this might be a surprise to many, is that I don't like the story. And that's really a shame, because Pixar has been known for their storytelling, and with this one, even though I have made a brief description of it, it is a lot more complicated than it is. Remy has a strong sense of smell which has him find the right ingredients for a perfect dish. And so Linguini, as a janitor, accidentally spilled a pot of soup and puts in raw ingredients which has Remy fix it up right. But the chefs think Linguini made the soup, which the customers enjoyed. So they make him a chef, and Remy helps Linguini by, get this, pulling his hair, which controls his arms and somehow the rest of his body parts, to find, cut, cook, and mix ingredients that change the original recipe. But then Chef Skinner gets a letter saying that Linguini is the son of Gusteau, who was the owner of Gusteau's restaurant, and since he's dead, the restaurant's new owner is Linguini, which brings the attention of Anton wanting to bring the restaurant down again, which doesn't have any explanation as to why he wants to bring it down, yet there's no indication that the chefs are doing anything wrong. Oh, and did I mention that the ending doesn't make any sense at all? Anton gives a positive review, but he somehow loses his job, and Gusteau's closes due to the rat infestation. But all concludes with a new restaurant opened with no lead into it whatsoever. Remy becomes a chef, Linguini's a waiter, Anton's their advisor or something, and there are many moments that are character developments or don't lead into anywhere else. So yeah, it's all clumsy and cluttered, and just one giant mess that throws in too many things at once. And this feels like a long movie. The pulling of the hair doesn't make sense by a physical perspective, and I know it's animation where anything is possible and the suspension of disbelief happens, but if the story and characters aren't engaging, it's hard to enjoy something like this. Well, if Brett Bird thought that freezing a bullet in midair is physically impossible but went along with it anyway, anything goes. And the scenes that say Linguini is Gusteau's son doesn't feel right. And what Chef Skinner said is true. There's nothing about these two that are related. Even Gusteau himself doesn't believe he has a son. How are they related? When did Linguini know about this? How come he's not surprised at all about it? Just like most of the film, there isn't any explanation to it. However, Anton's positive review at the end is a good explanation on how every critic works and thinks, because he does mention it. But it's one that I like from him, and that's about it. But with all this added together, the actors don't help much in voicing the characters. Patton Oswalt voices Remy, Ian Holm voices Chef Skinner, Lou Romano voices Linguini, Brian Dennehy voices Django, Peter Sohn voices Emile, Peter O'Toole voices Anton Ego, Brad Garrett voices Gusteau, Janine Garofalo voices Colette, and John Ratzenberger voices Mustafa. As a whole, this movie is a mess. The characters aren't interesting, the story is jumbled, and while the animation is okay, it doesn't hold up with the rest of it. This is my least favorite film from director Brad Bird and from Pixar. And it's hard to believe that Bird made this after The Incredibles, which was a more better film from him than this. And I know a lot of people love this film, but for me, and I'm sad to say, this is one restaurant that I would just skip. So today, this movie will be given a rating of 2 stars. Now the screen should look like this. What is it about this film that people like? And if you like it, then that's fine, but I don't get it. So thank you for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Facebook or Twitter. And tune in next week for a new video. Hopefully. So, he doesn't like Ratatouille, eh? Well, we'll see about that.